This comes from David. Do you think if Raw and SmackDown were on the network instead of TV, they would still be able to maintain 3 to 4 million viewers per week? Because my thought is, if you can make more money without having to sell your soul every 4 to 5 years to companies not willing to pay more for your services, then why not do it? Before costs, if 2 million subscribed to the network, they would be bringing in about $19,800,000 a month, and annually around $198 million, which is more than their contract with NBC. And let me cut you off there. Not necessarily the case. These television contracts have clauses in them. I think they call them escalation clauses. And I think even in the most recent conference call it came out that I think by the year 2018 they're going to be making $200 and something million off their TV deal. I don't know if that's combined or just the NBC one. So I would just hesitate to say that. That's not necessarily the case. They may actually be getting more money from NBC. It may be more of like a backloaded contract. But anyway, David says, even if they ran commercials, just like they would on USA, I think it would draw more people to the network than how it is currently being sold. Or are the TV ratings that important? Also, do you think they could draw more people to the network if they ditched putting Raw on Hulu.com the next day and instead put it on the network? The thing with Hulu is they have an agreement with them. It's an existing agreement with Hulu, and so they have to honor that agreement. And to be honest with you, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that if they can have Raw in a place like Hulu, it's just another avenue, to expose the product and get it out there. I don't really think that's going to stop enough people to make a difference from ordering the network. If they want the network, they're going to get the network. They're not going to not get the network because, I can get Raw on Hulu, so I guess I don't need the network. You're going to have very few people who make that decision. To go back to your first question, could Raw and SmackDown combined bring in 3 to 4 million people a week on the network? No. No. I don't ever envision a scenario where that happens. I just don't. They can't even get to 1 million. And the network is now in 170 different countries around the world. They will not hit 1 million people when this year is over. I would have to think they will hit 1 million at some point next year. Maybe around Mania time, I would expect a lot of people to sign up WrestleMania month. But who cares if they sign up for Mania and then, a majority of those people ditch the network the next month? What they need is consistent long-term growth, not growth in the month of April. They need to somehow hold on to those people. I just don't see it happening. This idea, though, that they could, by moving Raw and SmackDown to the network, so it's just not available anywhere else. You can't just put USA or Sci-Fi on. You have to buy the network. Some people will. And far more than 1 million, I would hope. You're not going to get 3 or 4 million people. There's just, you're asking a lot of people to say, you need to sign up for the network to watch Raw and SmackDown, and then expect that the same amount of people watching your show now are going to do that. The network, as it is now, is not perfect, but in a lot of ways, it's a steal. And they still struggle to get people to pay $10 a month for all of that content, which is not even close to all the content that they could offer. They're holding back on a lot of that stuff. And you may argue that, well, because of that, that's why people aren't signing up. Yeah, that is why some people aren't signing up, but not most. So what is it? What is holding those people back from spending $10 a month on the network? I can't imagine that it's an issue of expense. I know for some people maybe it is. For the majority of people, believe me, they could spare $10 a month. So why aren't they doing it? By just moving Raw and SmackDown to the network, that's not going to get 3 or 4 million people. That's comical. They will never, ever have 3 or 4 million people subscribe to their network. What will happen if they do that, it would be suicide. Because you're going to move your main shows off television onto your network that nobody buys. And again, not nobody, but not nearly the number of people they need to be buying the network to make it sustainable. And you're going to cannibalize your audience. I mean, that's what's going to end up happening. A lot of those people are just going to be like, all right, well, Raw's not on USA anymore. I guess I have to find something else to watch. Unless you are a hardcore, diehard fan. And they have a base of fans, and it is in the millions. But there's something about the act of these people actually going ahead and signing up for the network that's holding them back. And there's a lot of different answers as far as what that may be. I honestly don't think you're going to be able to get nearly that number of people to actually get up off their ass which they don't even have to get up off their ass. I mean, they could just go on their phone and sign up for the network. I don't see them doing it. There's something about the actual act of going through with it and signing up that people are just either too lazy to do, or they will come to the realization that, you know what, I don't really need this show in my life. So I'm just not going to watch. It's not as easy as hitting the remote control and it's on, well, then I'm not going to watch it. So I don't know what that magic number is that people, of the people that will watch it on the network and will sign up. It ain't going to be 3 or 4 million. I guarantee you it will not be 3 or 4 million. And the other reason it's suicide is you're going to take your shows off television. How do you ever expect to grow your base if the show is not on TV? And this goes for any wrestling company, by the way. I don't think any wrestling company can really make it big or even survive without television. If you're a small wrestling company that's regional and you do live shows, maybe some iPay-per-views, you have a small roster, and you can make that work, then look, there's a lot of wrestling companies out there like that. But if you actually want to grow your product and, not become WWE per se, but you want to be on the level of a TNA or a Ring of Honor or like look at what Lucha Underground is doing, you need television. You cannot take that and put it on some service that has very low subscriber rates and expect that people are going to flock to it and that your audience will somehow magically grow. Out of sight, out of mind. You take that product off TV, you're dead. You're dead. That's it. And so that would be the absolute worst thing that could happen. The whole reason that McMahon created the network, besides to make money off it, and I think he's made this comment before, what happened was the last contract they got before the most recent one, when they went back to USA, they had to crawl back to USA. It was embarrassing. And they didn't get the kind of deal they wanted to get. And it was very scary for them. And it was a realization that, hey, we may think the product is so hot and so strong, but guess what? Reality check, not the case. And they went to a lot of different networks, and nobody wanted to do business with them. So they ended up back on USA for a lower deal, not as good. And I think at that point, that's when Vince had made the call, we're going to launch our own network at some point. We're not going to allow this to happen again. If WWE 5 years from now finds itself in the position where NBC doesn't want to do business with them anymore, so they're off USA, and nobody else wants them. And I can't imagine that nobody else would want to pick them up. They have a big audience. But maybe, whatever, they don't want wrestling, there's a certain stigma attached to it, maybe the product is even less hot than it is now, and it's not even hot now. In 5 years from now, if they don't have a TV home, that's pretty fucking scary. And that's bad news for their future. The whole point was to get the network up and running, so if absolutely necessary, yes, we can move Raw and SmackDown to the network. At least it'll have some place to go. And that will work for them for a while. But the goal is to get back on television. You're always going to make more money off television. I never see them having the subscriber numbers they want to have in like the millions and millions. It's not going to happen. So where is the money coming from? The big money is in the TV contracts. You get rid of that, and you're dead in the water. Maybe not right away, but soon enough you will be. So those are the biggest reasons why. They still make more money off the TV deals that they have. That's number one. And number two, being off TV is out of sight, out of mind. For wrestling, it is. And you're not going to grow your audience by just having your shows on your own network. It's a very niche audience. This is not Netflix, no matter how many times they may want to compare themselves to Netflix and describe themselves. Yeah, they're the Netflix of wrestling. That's their audience. Random people looking for something to watch are not just going to start watching wrestling every single week. You have to be a wrestling fan to want to watch wrestling. It's a very niche audience. So it's not the same thing. You may be able to get numbers like that with another streaming service that has all sorts of content and all sorts of entertainment on it. Crackle. Look at something like Crackle. They've got comedies, they've got movies, they've got dramas. The WWE network has one thing, wrestling. That's it. And so these are the things you have to keep in mind, and that's why that would be a horrible idea.